All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little post-game recap that we're taping right here at the end of the game. Niners are going to win this game. Looks like 28-16. We'll see, because now Purdy's going up top to Kittle. But the Niners scored on real quick on the first drive. 2-play, 75-yard drive. J.P. Mason went in from 3 yards out after McCaffrey had a 72-yard run to make it 7-0 49ers. So the Niners jumped on top early. Seattle, though, would score on their first possession as well, as they would take the ball down the field. Locke hit DK Metcalf, who beat Ambry Thomas for a 31-yard pitch and catch to cap an 8-play, 75-yard drive to make it 7-7. Now, the Niners had some adversity in that first drive as well, as Mooney Ward went out with a groin injury, a nagging groin that he's had, and he suffered the injury there, so he was done for the day. Now, the Niners punted on their second possession. Seattle punted on their second possession. The 49ers would get it back on their third possession, and they would also be forced to punt. Seattle would score on their third possession as they moved the ball from the 29 down the field, and on 4th and 17, Jason Myers kicked a 40-yard field goal to make it 10-7 Seattle. 7-play, 50-yard drive, and Witherspoon hurt his back on the drive and was pretty much done for the day. I don't think Witherspoon came back in. So Seattle had a 10-7 lead. Brock Purdy on the next series threw an interception on a ball to Ayuk. It looked like Ayuk kind of hesitated. Julian Love was just fantastic today. He had a forced fumble. He had an interception. He got the pick right there of Purdy in the end of the first quarter, right beginning of the second quarter. So Seattle's got the lead and a 10-7 lead and the ball, but they couldn't do anything with it, and Kinlaw had a big tackle for a loss on the next series that forced them to punt. So Seattle then punted, and the Niners would get the ball back on their fifth possession, and they drove it from the 17-yard line. CMC on a halfback toss went 20 yards. Great block by George Kittle. Jerron Reed had a sack of Purdy on the next play, and on 3rd and 11 from the 46, Purdy found Deebo Samuel on a deep post for 54 yards and a touchdown to make it 14-10 Niners. 5-play, 83-yard drive in just under 3 minutes. So the Niners are up 14-10, and the 49ers would have that 14-10 lead going into the half. So it was 14-10 at the half. 49ers in the first half, 250 total yards to 165 for Seattle, 108 yards rushing to only 53 for Seattle. Niners had averaged 10.4 yards per play in that first half. They were -1 in turnovers, though, and Seattle did win the time of possession. Purdy in the first half, 9 of 14 for 150 yards and a touchdown, but he also had the pick. CMC, 6 carries for 97 yards, and interception by Julian Love. Obviously, that was the big play in the first half. So the Niners' 6 offensive drives. They went touchdown, punt, interception, touchdown to Deebo, and then punt again. So Seattle got it first to begin the third quarter, and they couldn't do anything with it. 3 and out, and were forced to punt. Niners on their 7th possession would get CMC ran for a 23-yard gain on first down to move the ball down the field. On 3rd and 6, though, Leonard Williams had a big sack of Brock Purdy, and that led to a punt. But this is where this thing got really interesting, because Mitch Wishnowsky, Kyle, for the first time ever, went with the fake punt, and Wishnowsky ran for a first down. It was a great play by Mitch, but offsetting penalties made them replay the down, and obviously you're not going to do the fake punt again. So the Niners punted back to Seattle. But Seattle couldn't do anything with it on their next possession, as Cleveland Farrell was really strong. He had a sack. He also had a tackle for a loss on 2nd and 9, and then Greenlaw made a great solo tackle on 3rd and 13 to force a punt. So the Niners would get the ball on their own 25-yard line in that third quarter, and Purdy moved in the pocket and went up top to Brandon Ayuk for 45 yards. Phenomenal play. And then Purdy went to Deebo for 13 yards on 3rd and 5, which was massive. And then Deebo on a 1-yard run made it 21-10 49ers. 7 plays, 75-yard drive in 4 minutes for the Niners. But then the next drive was probably the worst drive of the day, as Javon Hargrave went out with a hamstring. Dre Greenlaw hurt his hip. Locke found Walker on a play where Walker made 4 Niner tacklers miss tackles, and then Locke went to Fant for 26 yards to move it down to the 25. And the next play, Locke went to Colby Parkinson, the former Stanford tight end, for 25 yards out. The 2-point conversion failed when Chase Young kind of blew it up. But 21-16 at that point. 3-play, 78-yard drive, and the Niners were up 5, 21-16. On the next possession, 2nd and 9 from the 44, Purdy found Kittle for a 44-yard touchdown. Seattle had a defensive hold on the play, and so the Niners scored, made it 28-16, 3-play, 75-yard drive, and that's really where it ended. Locke threw a deep ball to Metcalf that was picked by Jair Brown. Brandon Ayuk had a fumble that Love popped out and Woolen got. Bosa had a key sack on a 3rd down to end one drive and force a punt. The 49ers would get a key sack from Randy Gregory on a later possession. Bosa and Kinlaw had a big sack late. And then Locke threw an interception to Fred Warner to pretty much seal it. And then a brawl started where DK was yanking the mask of Warner. Anyway, the game has now come to a conclusion, and the 49ers win the game 28-16. So good win for the 49ers. It was a divisional game, a tough, hard-fought game, but they get a nice 12-point win over Seattle. And now we're going to go down into the locker room and talk to some of the key participants, see what Kyle has to say, and then we'll come back up and we'll do the post-game. And join us on YouTube, and we'll talk more about this game. But overall, I would say, wasn't the best performance from the Niners. I mean, they weren't that sharp. Purdy threw a pick. There were some breakdowns. There were some penalties. Ayuk held the ball too loosely on the forced fumble. But they made just enough plays to get a 12-point win over Seattle. And they're riding into Arizona next week against the Cardinals on the heels of a win. So the 49ers get a win. Any win that they could get today you knew that today was not going to be a great, sharp performance. Coming off of the Eagle game, going up against a Seattle team that was hungry, that was rested, that was motivated and fired up to get a win. Seattle's season's on the line. They need a win this week or next week against Philly, and obviously they're not going to get it this week. So they need a win next week against Philly, or they're probably not even a playoff team. So big win for the Niners against a more rested, more rested team, probably a little bit more focused team, a team that was playing with more urgency. And still, the 49ers found a way to get a 12-point win over their arch rival, the Seahawks, here in Week 14. And now the Niners, roll into Arizona next week with a chance to keep their winning streak going. They have not lost since the bye. They're playing some outstanding football. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Check them out in Corte Madera and Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And thanks for all you guys supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.